Why does Play-Doh dry out? Hi, welcome to Curious Kids Every Day. I'm Josh. How are you doing today? It's so good to hear from you. Hey, do you like to play with Play-Doh? Man, I loved Play-Doh when I was a kid. And now my kids love Play-Doh. It's neat to see that some things never change. Legos, Connects. Do you have any toys from when your parents were kids that you still play with? Did you know that your mom and dad used to play with toys? I bet if you asked them to tell you about their favorite toys growing up, they're some of the same things you love to play with now. You should ask them. Your parents probably loved playing with Play-Doh too, like I did when I was a kid. And they probably did the same things with it that you do. Squeeze it and mash it and pull it apart, roll it and make silly shapes with it. It just feels so good in your hands, doesn't it? And just like when I was a kid, you still have to put the Play-Doh away when you're done with it. You gotta seal it up in the container. Do you know what happens if you don't put the top back on, or if you leave the Play-Doh sitting out? Right, it dries out. Have you ever wondered why that is? I was thinking about this question because I got an email from a curious kid named Ian. He wondered, why does Play-Doh dry out? Well, it's pretty simple. Play-Doh contains quite a bit of water. Water is one of the main ingredients, along with flour, salt, and a few other things that keep it smooth. The water helps everything stay soft by spreading throughout the dough and keeping the flour and other particles slippery enough to move around. But here's something interesting about water. It loves to escape into the air. This is called evaporation. If you have ever spilled some water on the ground, have you noticed that eventually it disappears? That's called evaporation, and it's happening all the time. Water on your skin dries, puddles disappear, and yes, Play-Doh, because it has water, it dries too. So when you leave the lid off a Play-Doh container, the water inside the dough slowly starts to move into the air. It doesn't rush out, it creeps out just a little bit at a time, but eventually enough of it escapes that the dough can't stay soft anymore. Without that water, the flour and other tiny particles in the dough get stiff and stick together. Instead of feeling squishy, it starts getting crumbly and hard. If you leave a big chunk of Play-Doh out, the outside will dry first. See, the inside might stay soft for a while longer because the water inside has to travel through the dough to reach the air. It's got a little bit further of a trip. Have you ever noticed that if you find some Play-Doh sitting out, sometimes the outside is harder than the inside? That's why. The water on the outside parts of the Play-Doh have dried out quicker than the parts on the inside. So why does putting the lid back on the container help? Why does that keep it from getting dry? Well, because when the lid is closed, the water can't escape easily. The air inside the container gets humid, which means it already contains a bit of water. That slows down evaporation, which keeps the Play-Doh soft for longer. And guess what? Sometimes you can even save dried out Play-Doh if it's not too far gone. If you need tiny bits of water back into it, you can make it soft again. You're basically putting the missing water back where it belongs, the water that evaporated. So the big reason Play-Doh dries out is very simple. Water escapes into the air. The Play-Doh needs that water in order to stay soft and squishy. So when you have the lid on, it stays squishy. When you keep the lid off, it gets crusty. That's how Play-Doh works. Did you know that Play-Doh wasn't originally a kid's toy? It was invented as a wallpaper cleaner and only later did people realize kids love playing with it. Okay, let's have a quick quiz. What ingredient inside Play-Doh helps it stay soft? That is water. And speaking of water, what is it called when water escapes into the air? We call that evaporation. And what dries out first when Play-Doh sits out, the outside or the inside? Yep, it's the outside. Let's play true or false. True or false? Play-Doh dries out because it loses water. Yep, that's true. True or false? Play-Doh is made mostly of plastic. False. It's made of water and flour and salt and a few other things. True or false? Keeping the lid off keeps Play-Doh fresh. False. Keeping the lid on keeps Play-Doh fresh. Okay, would you rather have a ball of Play-Doh as big as your house or a ball of Play-Doh that could bounce like a basketball? Can you imagine having a ball of Play-Doh as big as your house? You could pull chunks off it forever and never run out. But it would be really cool to be able to use really bouncy Play-Doh. So I'm going to go with really bouncy Play-Doh. What about you? All right, I've got one round of what am I? What am I? I'm one of the main parts of Play-Doh. You can change me into lots of shapes, and you find me in bread dough and in Play-Doh. What am I? I am flour. Okay, I've got one more game. It's called Is It Drying Out? I'm going to name something, and you tell me if that thing is slowly drying out or not. Are you ready? What about a wet towel? Is a wet towel drying out? It sure is. What about a piece of plastic? Is that drying out? No. What about a puddle in the sun? Is that drying out? Definitely. It'll be gone in no time. What about a metal spoon? Is that drying out? Nope. But what about mud on your shoes? Is that drying out? Yep, if you don't kick all that mud off as soon as you see it there, you're going to have dried mud on the bottom of your shoes. Well, today we learned that Play-Doh dries out because the water inside it escapes into the air. When that water leaves, the dough can't stay soft anymore, and that's why sealing it up keeps it squishy and fun. There is nothing worse than finding dried up Play-Doh on the ground. For one thing, now you've got to clean it up, but also, now you have less Play-Doh to play with. So always remember to put the top back on, that way your Play-Doh lasts as long as it can. What kind of question do you think we'll ask tomorrow on Curious Kids Every Day? I can't wait to find out, so until then, keep asking questions and stay curious, kids. And we've got a birthday today. It's Kai's birthday. Kai is turning 7, and Kai is from Texas. Happy birthday, Kai! Kai is in the Curious Kids Club. If you would like to join the Curious Kids Club, go to supportcuriouskids.com. We've got activity sheets for every new episode of the show over there, and you also get a shout out on your birthday. That's supportcuriouskids.com. See you tomorrow!